The servant in Matthew 25 verse 18 had absolutely no excuse for mishandling his one bag of silver. But if this is a parable, does that mean we have no excuses for mishandling the gifts God has given us either? The Bible is interesting, sufficient, compelling, infallible, commanding, captivating, inspired, necessary, trustworthy, and not boring. If you like the content, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. I was not expecting to do another hot button topic so soon, but here goes. Matthew 25 verse 14 to 30 talks about 3 servants and how they handled their master's money while he was away. I'll skip over the first 2 wise servants, but I want to take a closer look at number 3. Every other time I've read this passage, I just thought the servant was being unwise with what he was given, and then I moved on. After all, the money under the mattress technique is used by many who don't trust financial institutions. What makes this situation different? The big difference between standard foolishness and what this guy did was that he made excuses for his own poor choices. He had all the tools he needed to at least make some interest on the silver, but he alone chose to bury it. Why does this matter to us? God has given us so many blessings and expects us to be good stewards of those gifts. He asks us to use them for the benefit of His kingdom, not to waste our gifts on things that don't matter. God has taken away every excuse we could come up with for not using these gifts for His glory. With very few exceptions, God has given us eyes and/or ears to discern His will through the Bible for our lives, and by extension, how to use what He has given us. Are you feeling too tired to use your gifts? Jesus promises a light burden for those who prioritize learning to follow Him. Would you rather build your career and get around to building God's kingdom later? Revelation 3:15-16 warns against being spiritually lukewarm. Waiting for the right situation to use your gifts? Ecclesiastes 11:4 challenges us not to delay when opportunities for service arise. The Bible makes it abundantly clear how we are supposed to live our lives and takes away all our excuses. And we are quite capable of reading the Bible. Using our gifts to build God's kingdom is the most important thing we can do with our lives. And, as you can see with the first 2 servants, it is very rewarding. And with that, let's read the not boring Bible. Matthew chapter 25. Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 bridesmaids, who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. The 5 who were foolish didn't take enough olive oil for their lamps, but the other 5 were wise enough to take along extra oil. When the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, they were roused by the shout, "Look, the bridegroom is coming! Come out and meet him!" All the bridesmaids got up and prepared their lamps. Then the 5 foolish ones asked the others, "Please give us some of your oil, because our lamps are going out." But the others replied, "We don't have enough for all of us. Go to a shop and buy some for yourselves." But while they were gone to buy oil, the bridegroom came. Then those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was locked. Later, when the other 5 bridesmaids returned, they stood outside calling, "Lord, Lord, open the door for us." But he called back, "Believe me, I don't know you. So you too must keep watch, for you do not know the day or hour of my return." Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. Then he left on his trip. The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, "Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 5 more." The master was full of praise. "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, "Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 2 more." The master said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came out and said, "Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money back." But the master replied, "You wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it." Then he ordered, "Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." But when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit upon his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered in his presence, and he will separate the people as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep at his right hand, and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. For I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you cared for me. I was in prison and you visited me." Then these righteous ones will reply, "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will say, "I tell you the truth, when you did it to one of the least of my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me." Then the king will turn on those to the left and say, "Away with you, you cursed ones, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his demons. For I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty and you didn't give me a drink. I was a stranger and you didn't invite me into your home. I was naked and you didn't give me clothing. I was sick and in prison and you didn't visit me." Then they will reply, "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and not help you?" Then he will answer, "I tell you the truth, when you refused to help the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were refusing to help me." And they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous will go into eternal life. I hope you enjoyed some not boring Bible reading.